Just gotten back on the water in late February, all restricted by the NCAA regulations, focusing on academics in Division III. All of these crews are racing for lanes tomorrow. This was a preliminary.
We'd like to remind the coxswain on the beach here that they must weigh in before they launch. Unfortunately, if you launch before you weigh in, you're going to be eliminated from the competition. So we have note that several coxswain have not gone and weighed in. So if you are a coxswain that has not done that, then please go ahead and check in and weigh in so that you are not in a negative position. Race number 4, the women's collegiate lightweight preliminary, is on the water. We have 4 crews. Jim, tell us where they are and what's going on.
We're about 15 strokes off the start in lane 1. This is event number 4, women's collegiate lightweight preliminary. Lane 1 is Stanford University, 2 Princeton University, 3 Washington State, and then 4 Stanford University.
I didn't see your hand.
Quickly out of the blocks, the Tigers in lane 2 have a slight advantage over lane 1, Stanford, followed by Washington State, and then the Stanford B crew is in that 4th position. We're about 300 meters into the race. Once again, your race leader, Princeton, in lane 2. Crew shifting down into their race pace. The check here. Princeton rowing at 35.5. The Stanford A boat in lane 1 is rowing at 36. Very good boat race for the 1st and 2nd position, then a great race for the 3rd and 4th position. Right now it's too close to call, but it appears that Stanford A boat has now taken the lead over in lane 1. Crews now approach the 500-meter mark. Stanford University, Cardinal, your race leader in lane 1, followed by Princeton, lane 2. And then the Stanford B boat is in the 3rd spot, and in the 4th position, Washington State University. That's the call at about 600 meters.
I think that's always been there.
Hello.
On the water right now is the women's collegiate lightweight preliminary, and we are going to check lane assignments. Our current leader is Stanford University in lane number 1. That's their A crew. Princeton is out there in lane number 2. Washington State University out of Pullman, Washington in lane 3, and the Stanford B crew is in lane number 4. Our early leader, Stanford A, followed by Princeton, and then back to Stanford B, and trailing is the Washington State crew.
Stanford is the defending national champion, national collegiate champion, and they must be pretty excited that Princeton has come out for this early season race. Princeton is ranked number 3. They came in 5th at last year's nationals, so they're obviously hoping to improve this year. Washington State University is a club program that does very, very well against these Division I universities, and we will be looking to see how they go. They are actually ranked at number 14 out of all of the lightweight programs in the country, so we have a class field here today.
Princeton has kicked it up and edged ever so slightly in ahead of the Stanford A crew. Stanford, the early leader and our race leader, called at the 500-meter mark, but Princeton has moved ahead as they cross through 500 meters. But the 2 crews seem to be stroke for stroke on the far outside, and open water back is the Stanford B crew, and then the Washington State crew struggling just a bit and trailing by quite a bit of open water. Lanes 1 and 2 is where our race is going on right now. Open water back to lane number 4, Stanford, and Washington State trailing. Stanford A crew and Princeton going stroke for stroke as they come through the first 1,000 meters and crossing through the Ingram Street Bridge area.
Princeton's taking a push here. You can see them really locking on and driving through. And Stanford has lightened it up just a little bit quicker out of the release. and trying to swing out of bow and get that momentum as they come into this final 500 meters of the race. All of the crews will be stepping it up another couple of races and then charging home in a sprint.
Excellent boat race on the front end of this thing, as those two crews, as you could see, were bow marker to bow marker, and it kind of depended on where the stroke ended. And it looks like Stanford may have edged ever so slightly back into the lead, but they certainly have not intimidated Princeton in any way, shape, or form. And the boat race is shaping up between lanes 1 and 2, Stanford A and Princeton. We have open water back to the Stanford B boat, and then the Washington State crew struggling just a bit. This is event number 4, the Women's Collegiate Lightweight Preliminary.
I think that Stanford was the first crew to raise their racing. They have lifted the rating at 400 meters to go, and Princeton has responded. Both crews have moved up to, Princeton went to Stanford, and Stanford went to 36, and then Princeton responded by going to 38. So we have quite a race here in front of us.
This is Stanford on the shoreline. They are battling with Princeton out in lane number 2, and neither crew is giving in. A lot of open water back to Stanford B crew, and then the Washington State crew struggling and trailing by quite a few boat lengths of open water. It is Stanford on the shoreline. Princeton in the second position, just ever so slightly. Looks like it might be a bow length. Stanford along the shore. Princeton trying to catch up. The Cardinal into a good rhythm along the shoreline in the Women's Collegiate Lightweight Preliminary. It is Stanford University A crew, Princeton about 5 seats back.
And Princeton stepping it up again.
Stanford doesn't seem like they're going to let up. Princeton has picked up the pace just a bit, but Stanford continues to lengthen their lead ever so slightly as they approach the finish line. Trailing is Stanford B crew and Washington State. On the shoreline, it is Stanford. And reversing our view here, the lead crew is Stanford. They are going to be the far crew away from us. And as you see, preliminarily and unofficially, it is going to be the Stanford A crew, followed by Princeton, then open water back to the Stanford B, and then Washington State.
So Princeton and Washington State probably coming from the coldest conditions, so I think today's conditions would be quite balmy for them. Washington State trains on the Snake River, and looking at their results earlier in the season, just a week or two ago, sleet was involved. So we should count our blessings here today. This tailwind makes for a fast race, and these Washington State lightweights are very highly respected within the Western Coast.
That is the Stanford crew out in front. As you can see, it's almost 6 seats. And they are the unofficial winner, followed by the crew from Princeton. Excellent row. And this is Washington State finishing up. And quite frankly, being in a trailing position that much, it is to their credit that they continued to row strongly and finish up in the best manner that they could.
I think we'll find that these crews will all improve again tomorrow. This was a preliminary race today, sort of for many of them, first race. And they're just getting their race legs going. They were racing 4 lanes tomorrow, which means that unofficially Stanford will have lane 1.